Hello, and welcome to the library workshop on how to search the newspaper databases. The library has access to many academic resources which you may find helpful during your assignments. Whether you're researching current events, historic events, topics of significant social interest, and much more, the newspaper databases are an excellent place to start your research. You can search the newspaper databases from off-campus or on campus. In order to access the newspaper databases, you will need to log in to your My Hancock portal, which is your My Hancock username and the same password. You may also be asked to choose the single sign-on or SSO option, even if you have already logged into your portal. When you try to go to the library databases, it may ask you to sign in once again in order to authenticate yourself. We'll start by going to Hancock College's library homepage. This can be found by going to hancockcollege.edu and clicking on the top where it says Library. You can also get to the library homepage by logging into your My Hancock portal and clicking on the library icon. Once you're on the front page, if you look on the right-hand side, 7 days a week, you can chat with a librarian from early in the morning through late in the evening. If you are at all confused about how to access databases, or you're not finding information on a certain topic, that's the perfect time to talk with the librarian and get some tips and ideas for how to search most effectively for your topic. The librarians will usually respond rapidly. If you do not hear a quick response, you may want to refresh the page, or you may want to also give it just a minute or two in case the librarian is working with someone else. As long as you see available in the top left part of the chat box, it means that the librarian is there and able to work with you. You can chat or text with a librarian. You can chat with a librarian by using the chat box here, or you can send a text message to 855-512-2ASK, which is also 855-512-2275. Either way, you are going to get the same level of research help from the librarians. Once you're ready to access the newspaper databases, you can go to the left-hand side under Research, and then click on the second link to Articles and Resources. This is the landing page for how to access all of the library's subscription databases. Depending on what you're searching for, you may use a different search database. Because we're focusing on the newspaper databases today, we're going to scroll down to where it says General Article Databases. Here you can choose, and if you specifically want to go to newspapers, click below where it says Newspapers. Now the general article databases, including Academic Search Complete and SERS, do include many newspaper articles within their search results as well. They also include in-depth articles, scholarly or peer-reviewed articles, conference proceedings, and more. However, if you only want to look for materials that were in newspapers and you do not want to have other results such as reports, conference proceedings, or scholarly articles, then click on the newspaper heading and then choose from the options below. We're going to look at a couple of these options today, but I encourage you to continue to explore the different newspaper databases. Let's go down the list and do a brief summary of what each of these newspaper databases would be helpful for. The first one, U.S. Major Dailies plus Historical Newspapers, is a database that allows you to read full-text newspaper articles from major publications, including the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, the Los Angeles Times, and the Chicago Tribune, published between 1881 to the present. This is helpful if you're looking for historic articles, if you're looking to compare information across decades, or if you're looking for contemporary newspaper articles, news, editorials, opinion pieces, and more. Newspaper Source Plus is a resource where you can find newspaper articles and television and radio transcripts. The Time Magazine archive allows you to search, and let's pause. Oops. The Time Magazine archive allows us to search and read an extensive array of articles published in Time Magazine between 1923 and December of 2000. So if you're curious about historic articles that were published in Time Magazine, and Time Magazine did some really interesting articles, photos, in-depth, you know, analyses of um, situations and interesting things around the world. So if you're curious about that, you may want to look at Time Magazine archive. Note that the Time Magazine archive only extends till December of 2000. So if you're looking for up-to-date current information, Time Magazine archive is not going to be the first place to look because its focus is on historic material rather than current material. Finally, let's look at the last two access points, the New York Times and Wall Street Journal. We now, as a student, you now have free access to the New York Times digitally. You can enjoy this complimentary digital access to the New York Times with unlimited access to articles, news, videos, and multimedia. You can follow the directions and set up your account quickly. And similarly, the Wall Street Journal is now available to you for free in digital format. You can also have unlimited access to articles, news, video, multimedia, entertainment, book reviews, and much more. So let's look at these two first. To set up your New York Times digital access account, you can click on the link and it's going to take you to the New York Times in Education website where you can sign up. In order to sign up, you're going to search for your school. So you'll start to type in Allen Hancock College and then choose Allen Hancock. And then if you're on campus, you'll click there. And if you're not on campus right now, you'll click on the Go button below. And then it's going to walk you through setting up your account. If you already have an account, you'll click on where it says log in here. But if this is your first time signing up for the New York Times, you'll click on this blue button that says create account. You're going to put in your Hancock College email address, and it will require your Hancock email address that ends in .edu. Most Hancock email addresses will be something like your first name, last name at my.hancockcollege.edu. Once you put in your email address, you'll click continue and you'll follow the steps. Ultimately, you'll then be able to create that unique login and you can download the free New York Times app and then have that free access on your phone, computer, or other device. You can always talk with a librarian if you have any issues with signing in, setting up an account, or more. In order to do the same for the Wall Street Journal, you'll just need to log into your My Hancock account through single sign-on. Single sign-on is the same process that we use when we're logging into our My Hancock portal. If you're already logged into your My Hancock portal, it may not ask you to log in again, and it will automatically recognize you as a Hancock College student and will take you to the Wall Street Journal homepage at wsj.com. You can confirm that you're logged in by looking on the right-hand side, and if it lists your name, you can click that down arrow and you can see it will tell you your name, customer center, if you have any saved content, if you have an audio queue set up, and you can also set up email alerts. You can set up a watch list. You can look for certain topics to get alerts when articles containing those topics show up, and much more. As a Hancock College student, once you log into the Wall Street Journal, you should have access to all articles provided here. The Wall Street Journal, like the New York Times, is a very well-respected publication that is read all over the world. it contains articles of international interest, as well as focusing on some more specific interests and regional interest. This is going to be a bit different from a smaller local newspaper, such as the Santa Maria Times or the Santa Barbara News Press, because it has such a wide scope of articles and topics that it covers. If you're doing a research paper and it's on a topic, it's on a social issue topic, the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal would be very helpful newspaper starting points because they tend to include articles that talk about these popular social issues. So if you're writing something about Ukraine, there will be articles about it. If you're writing something about genetically modified food, there will be articles about that topic. Now, if you're looking for something very specific to Santa Maria, you may need to expand your search. If you're writing an article about renewable power sources and why Santa Maria should adopt more, just as an example. Now, the Wall Street Journal will not necessarily have articles about Santa Maria and why it should adopt more renewable power, but if you get more broad and you look up renewable power sources, you will find articles in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, but then you can take those articles and the information in general that they contain and apply that to the specific situation of Santa Maria. The Wall Street Journal is also free and you can access it as long as you log in to your My Hancock portal. Let's go back to the Articles and More page where we found our newspaper heading. We've just looked at how to set up free access to two of the most widely circulated newspapers in the country, the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. And as a Hancock College student, we now know that you have free access to those 24/7. Let's look at the first newspaper database now, U.S. Major Dailies plus historical newspapers. And if you click on that, it will open in a new tab right here. Notice how it did not make me sign in again because I signed in a few minutes ago, so it still recognizes me as a Hancock College student or staff member. If it's been a while since you logged into your portal, maybe it's been over an hour, maybe it's been a couple of days, if you click on this database page, it will ask you to log in again, and you will log in through SSO or single sign-on. Now, if you have a topic in mind, you can begin typing it in this center bar where it says Enter Search Terms. So if you know that you're researching the topic of genetically modified food, you can start to type in those words and you'll get a variety of search results. If you're not sure what your topic is and you're curious, what are some issues that people are concerned about today? And then you want to draw inspiration from that, you may instead choose to click near the top where it says Publications. You can choose different newspapers to browse through. There are 60,720 different publications that you can browse through that were published sometime between 1881 and 2022. If you want to narrow that down, you can go on the left-hand side under Source Type, and let's click on Newspapers, because I have to write an argumentative essay for my English 103 class, and I need to write it on a current social issue. So I want to know what the newspapers are writing about social issues. Now that we have applied the filter of only newspaper titles, we're down to 17 different publications. And because we chose newspapers and not historic newspapers, we should first be getting options for newspapers that are current or newspaper articles that are being written in the present. Notice how number one, the first result is the Chicago Tribune. The Chicago Tribune is a major newspaper that is read all over the world, and it is published in Chicago. You can keep scrolling down if you want to look for other sources. Let's look at number 10, the Los Angeles Times. Notice how it says full text is available. When you see the phrase full text, it's telling you that you can read the entire article that was published. So you can read a 3-page article on genetically modified food from the start of the article to the end of the article. There's no partial access. You should be able to read 100% of what was printed in the newspaper. The full text coverage on this database extends from December 4th, 1996 to present. So you should be able to access all articles that were ever published in the Los Angeles Times newspaper between 1996 and March of 2022 and so forth going forward. Let's click on the title, Los Angeles Times. Now we can browse through all of the different articles that have been written in this newspaper. If you scroll down, you can choose an issue to view. So I want to choose the most current possible edition of this newspaper, 2022, and the default is to put in today's date. And if I click View Issue, I'm going to have access to 52 different articles that were published in today's edition of the Los Angeles Times. Maybe I'm interested in the idea of remote learning versus in-person learning. And I see an article here about LA school enrollment is falling. Parents are nervous. Campuses like Trinity, Pio Pico face possible closure. Let's click on that. And it says full text, so the entire article is below. And you can read this. You can save this. You can send it to yourself. I'm going to scroll down just so you see the entire article is here. And it will tell you all of the biographical information, including the photographer, the author, and it will tell you the word count. So if you're looking for a newspaper article, and say your teacher says you have to find an article that's at least 1,000 words long, you can confirm that this article was 1,851 words, so it should suffice. It should be enough. If this article was of interest to you, you can save it and come back to it later. So in the top right, you can see the down arrow icon where it says Save as PDF. And if you click on that, it will download a copy of this article, which you can save to your device or email to yourself. And if you click on that, it should open in a new tab. And then that's your article to keep forever. And if you want to keep this, you can click, it should automatically go to your downloads folder. But if you want to save it to a different location, you can click in the top right, you can click the download arrow and then choose the location on your computer where you want to save this. Let's close that. Back on the article page, if you need the citation. So say you want to use this article for your report or your paper or your speech or other assignment. Click on where it says Cite and then choose your format. Currently, I believe we're in MLA version 9, so this is a couple editions behind, but still it's a good starting point. And if you were to, you can copy and paste, so you can copy this citation and you can paste it on your Works Cited page, but because this is not the most current edition of MLA, you would still need to go through and double check the formatting. The databases are pretty good about helping us to build citations, though they're not 100% perfect. So it will help you. It's a good starting point. It'll help save time, but you still need to confirm and make sure the formatting and the information is all correct. You can also save the citation to a citation manager such as RefWorks, EndNote, Noodle Tools, EasyBib, Microsoft Excel format if you want to keep them on an Excel sheet. You can also email this article to yourself. If you click email, choose what you want to email. So I want to send the full text of this article to myself. If you want the bibliographic citations at the end, check that box. choose your citation style. If you want to include any other information, such as your recent searches, table of contents, then send it to the email address where you will receive it. So if you don't check your Hancock email very often, you don't want to send it to your Hancock email. Send it to the email address you will be likely to check. Then put in your name. The subject is automatically built for you, but you can change the subject heading of the email. And then if you want to put a message to yourself, you can, and then click continue, and you can email that to yourself. You can also print out this article by clicking print, and then continue and send it to a printer. You can print out up to 20 pages for free at the library at a time. So if you want to print this out, you're good to go. You can also click in the top 3 dots in the top right corner where it says all options. And these include some of the options we looked at before, such as saving as a PDF, emailing. You can create a research sub-account on your account. You can also save an article to the cloud. So you can save it to your Google Drive, save it to your Google Classroom if you're using that, save it to your OneDrive on Microsoft. And then some of our citation exports, such as RefWorks. And then there are other options. If you want to save this article as text only without formatting, if you want to save it in Microsoft Word formatting, and more. So the databases try to give flexibility in how they're giving you content. If you look on the right-hand side, there are articles that are considered related to this article. They're related because of subject terms or keywords that they may have in common. Some of these may be articles that were written in the same publication or by the same author, affiliated authors, or they may be articles that other people read after accessing this article. There we go. If you're looking for the most current information, it's always important to make sure you're checking the date of the article. Because right now we are only browsing articles published in the LA Times on March 9th of 2022, we know that these will all be current articles. However, if you're not browsing a specific edition of a newspaper and you're just doing a general search, you will want to keep in mind that if you're looking for current information, you'll want to only look at articles that were written pretty recently. Maybe you like that topic, but you want to look for other topics. Maybe you want to talk about gas prices. Let's look at number 6. This is a perspective piece. It's titled, No, Gas Prices Aren't Really at a Record. It tells me the author's name, Michael Hiltzik, from Los Angeles Times, March 9th, full text. So this appears to be, so this is not just a regular informational piece. It looks like this is an opinion piece. Here we go. Yeah, so this is an op-ed or editorial, and it also tells us the photographer, and below is the word count. So if you need that. Along the right-hand side, you'll also see information such as the oil price articles like the oil price paradox, but notice how this article on the right is on the same topic as oil price, but this is from November of 2015. So the information there may have changed. If you scroll up just a little bit more, let's look at the next article below. This was also published today in the LA Times. It's in the business section. It's titled Oil Bans Effects at the Pump and Beyond. Gas prices are likely to rise, and that could send costs of other goods, services higher. So if you scroll down, it's going to give me the full article here, telling me the photographer, author, word count, and more. So if you find a good article and you really like it, it's always helpful to look on the right-hand side to see some of these related articles in order to save time and to see connected topics. You can also click on the right-hand side where it says related items, click on the down arrow, and you can start to do another search only on specific subject terms. Let's click on gasoline prices. and then do search. So now I only want the database to bring me articles about gasoline prices. The first article we have 13,310 results, which is a lot. I don't want to look through that many, it's too much. It's going to start to give you these articles 50 at a time. You can sort these. On the left-hand side, it says sorted by relevance. I want to search by most recent first. So I only want the articles from March of 2022 coming up first. Here we'll see that the newspaper articles will sometimes include scholarly articles. They used to only include newspapers, but sometimes you're going to see the addition of other source types, including these special academic articles written by experts. If you see a result that says scholarly journal, it means it's going to be a very trustworthy piece of writing. It's going to be longer than a newspaper article. It's going to go more into depth, and it's going to give you a lot of information. But if you're only looking for newspaper articles, then look for the results that say newspaper right under the icon on the left side. Let's look here where it says this was from the Washington Post, published also today, March 9th. And the title of this article is Spiking Gas Prices Are Tapping Pocketbooks and Patients. Now we're moving out of the LA Times and we're going to a different newspaper, the Washington Post. The Washington Post is another major daily publication, and you can read through this article. You have full text access, and you can scroll to the bottom to get that word count, as well as any captions from images that were included in the original publication. Let's go back to the home page. This is publication search. Let's go back to our basic search. This is the first page that we saw when we clicked on the US major dailies. Now, if I don't want to just browse one specific newspaper, I can put in my search terms here. So I can put in the search term of fossil fuels or gas prices, because maybe I want to argue something about how people need to use more public transportation, or people need to use more electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles. And part of my argument is going to be the rising price of gasoline is a major reason why people should be more conscientious in their use of gasoline and fossil fuels. Okay, now gas prices is pretty broad, and we're getting over 2,233,000 results. So there's just not enough time to go through those. So we're going to go on the left, and we're going to use these limiters. Let's sort by most recent. Let's do source type newspapers. So I only want newspaper articles. Okay, now we've gotten rid of over 2 million of those results. We're down to 159,000. Good. Now let's go on the left-hand side under publication date. Let's click on last 12 months. We're going to tell the database only bring results that include the phrase gas prices that were written in the last year. Now we're down to 4,557 results. It's still a lot, but this is a good starting point. And then you can make this custom. So publication date, let's do a custom date range. I only want articles written between, let's say, February 8th and of this February 8th of 2021. Pardon me, 2022. And March 9th of 2022. So I only want articles that were written in the last month, and that include the word gas and prices, and they're in newspapers. So now we're down to 881 results. It's still a lot, but it's getting better and better. All of these will be helpful sources to look at. So look at that. Lawmakers, let's put this in quotation marks. When you put a phrase in quotation marks, you're telling the database only bring back results that include these exact words in this exact order. So don't bring us any results that happen to have the word gas on page 1 and prices on page 2. Now we're down to 268 results. It's still a lot, but this is much better than 2.2 million results. And all of these were written sometime between February of 2022 and March of 2022. And here we can look at oil prices and rising and Russia. Let's look at gas prices continue to rise. Ride-hailers must decide. Well, look at that. What surging gas prices mean for you. So here, let's go to number 13. Because maybe as part of your research on persuading your readers to either use public transportation or use electric vehicles or hybrids or do more ride sharing, you're trying to make an argument for why it will benefit your readers to adopt your point of view. So this article was written today, published in the the Wall Street Journal, which is based out of New York. And then the full text article is below. This article is a little bit shorter than the other articles we were looking at before, at 570 words. But it is relevant, it's recent, it contains the search terms we're looking for, and this can be helpful as we continue our research to prepare us for the assignment we're working on. Now, one more thing I'd like to show you. This is U.S. Major Dailies plus historical newspapers. I'm going to open that again. And you can also look at the historic newspapers. So let's do publications. And let's look up historic newspapers. You can also browse the historic newspapers by putting in a search term and hitting enter. Let's do source type historical newspapers. And we have 21 different publications that have historic articles we can look at. Now notice how far back this is going. The Chicago Daily Tribune includes articles we can look at that were written about 180 years ago in 1847 to 1858. Or we have access between 1849 and 1858. These are digitized from their original publications. And look at that. Let's look. Interesting. So 1858, this is pre-Civil War. Let's look at 1849. This is around the time of the California Gold Rush. Look at that. Let's look at number 6. Now, some of these aren't going to be in the best quality because, when they were from the mid 1800s, they may not have been preserved as well. But oftentimes, not in this example, there should be, if it's hard to read, there should be a transcription below. Let's see if this first one. Let's hope that looks a little bit better. Here we go. War imminent in Italy. This is from the Chicago Daily Tribune, June 28th, 1858. And look at that. This is scanned. Kind of amazing. You can also click View Page PDF on the left side so you can see the entire scan of what the newspaper edition looked like that day. You can also click Browse this issue, and you can click on the plus sign to zoom in on an article. In the Daily Tribune, you can zoom in, you can rotate, you can fit this to the page. You can even download this if you like. You can click download, save it to your device. You can print this if you want to print that page. And if you want to see what other articles were published on June 28th, 1858 in the Chicago Daily Tribune, you can click above where it says Browse this issue. Now, historic newspapers are more interesting if you're doing historic research in order to show how attitudes and perspectives have changed and compare the information from the past to the present. If you're doing a book report or a report on a historic event, this is also very helpful. You can browse, jump to different pages. You can also click on a section to zoom in on it, highlight it. There we go. You can look at advertisements. Look at that. Medical aid, medical, look at that. And it's so fascinating sometimes to see the ads that they used to have. Look at that. Special notices. Look at that. This is just a little glimpse at the historic newspaper access as part of the larger newspaper access through the Allen Hancock College databases. Um, do you have any questions for me at this time?
No, your information has been very clear,
Oh,
very
wonderful.
detailed.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well,
Thank you.
uh, hopefully you'll visit us again online or in person, chat with us anytime. And I hope that this was useful and that you have some fun navigating the Hancock College's newspaper databases. Make sure to sign up for the free access to the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. It's very handy to have that. For the Wall Street Journal, all you need to do is sign in with your My Hancock username and password. For the New York Times, all you have to do is create the account and then download the New York Times app on your phone or device, and then that will give you free access.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. Susie,